Hello everyone, many thanks for joining this week's Tiger Bite, rounding up all the week's news and talking points around Glasgow Speedway. Hope you're well. I'm Derek Smith and joined as ever by Speedway Stars Glasgow correspondent Brian Copeland. Hello Brian.
Good evening Derek, good to join you again.
Thank you very much Brian. Another busy show. Tonight Brian, we're going to have a quick look back over our trips to Redcar and Newcastle, touch upon the British Youth Championship Ashfield on last Saturday night, and preview, of course, Newcastle's visit to Ashfield this Saturday. We'll also have a fan feature, so some of you supporters are going to share your views on Tiger Bite about the season so far and your hopes for the remainder of the season. We'll announce this week's name check winner, and we'll also be joined by Tigers team manager Stewart Dickson to share his own thoughts on current form and the run-in to the end of the season. So Brian, last week, Thursday and indeed Sunday, Tigers visited the North East, and I suppose the headline would be nothing from the North East, or very little at least. Just 1 point gain from Redcar last Thursday.
Yeah, that's right. I think they certainly would have been looking for much more than that, but as Stuart will no doubt touch on in a short while, not quite what we were looking for. So, yeah, a bit of a frustrating few days for the team. It's kind of been sort of symptomatic of our form of late. So I don't think anyone was hugely surprised by the way they went. But given our form early in the season and the fact that I think we won at both those tracks early in the campaign, to just take 1 point from them at this stage when we've still got our same 7 riders together is a wee bit disappointing. But having spoken to a couple of the riders since those meetings, I know that they're looking to work on things behind the scenes. I know that they are frustrated as well. They're looking for a bit more of a run of home meetings as well. I know that's something that Aaron Summers in particular has touched on when I've spoken to him. Really keen to kind of get the confidence built again with a run of home meetings, which they can hopefully transfer into the away matches. So it's given Sheffield's form of late as well, it's certainly not the ideal position to go to both those tracks and take very little from them. So, but I'm sure that would make the guys even more determined to set things right this weekend.
I suspect, Brian, it's only by this season's standards. We've been winning comfortably home and picking up lots of points away from home. It's only by our own standards that the last couple of away results and perhaps the performances as well have caused some alarm amongst the Tigers faithful and of course amongst the management and the riders, no doubt themselves. But I would make the point, we're not getting hammered anywhere, Brian. We're still getting 38, 39 points, and that's deemed to be a bad performance.
Yeah, it shows how far we've come, I suppose, in the last couple of seasons. I think that the frustration probably is that we know what this team is capable of. We've seen it already over the last few months, certainly early in the season. And with some of the younger riders progressing as well, getting more used to our track in particular, the likes of Jack Smith and Dan Bewley, Tom Perry, of course, at reserve as well. Guys who needed a bit of time to bed in. They're now well into their seasons, and a couple of guys riding 2 or 3 leagues. I think that we know that this team is really capable of going on now and pushing ahead and really stamping authority in this league, which we haven't quite done yet. So perhaps the best is still to come, though, and maybe we're just saving our best form for the most important part of the season, which I think all of us would take over a peak in the middle of the season and then a slump towards the end.
I suppose if you're going to have a slump, Brian, it would be better to have it in August than September and October. As you mentioned, Brian, we're going to talk to Stuart shortly, and he himself is going to share his thoughts over those away performances. So you and I won't say any more about Redcar and Newcastle. A quick word of praise, and absolute praise, sincerely, for all the youngsters who participated in the British Youth Championship round at Ashfield last Saturday night. I was along myself on Saturday, along with a lot of regular supporters, and I think I could safely speak on behalf of everyone who watched the racing on Saturday, and we're very impressed by the talent pool of young riders. And these are riders, Brian, sub 15 years old, and the way that they took to the track and all the effort and the eagerness that they portrayed on Saturday is a credit to them and their families and indeed the organisers of that event.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see these young guys come through. We do need new talent in the sport. We always need a steady stream of riders coming through. But, in particular at the moment, the sport in this country desperately needs quality riders. You know, we need guys that are going to go on and challenge at the, you know, on an international stage. And I think, you know, based on reports, I wasn't there myself on Saturday night, but based on reports and everything else I've seen, I think it's fair to say that there are a few there that have got real potential. And I would say a massive well done and thank you to the fans that did come out to support the guys, because I know it's important that these kind of meetings are backed, and particularly for the club as well. It's great to see us getting these kind of events. We've obviously had the Ben Fund here this year as well. We've got the Riders' Championship in September. We're getting these regular big events now. Organisers are coming to Glasgow because they know the facilities are here, they know the kind of professionalism that the club's got. So it's good to see that our fans are coming out to back those events as well, and long may that continue. And hopefully we'll see the young riders coming back in the years to come as well.
Well said, Brian. Now, regular viewers of TIGERBITE, and we do have a few, Brian, will be very well aware that we're always encouraging you out there in Speedway land to get across and become involved in TIGERBITE. So we like your interactions through likes and comments and shares. And that's what you need to do, of course, to be in contention for our name check competition next week. On Saturday night, during some of the very few, in fact, delays between races on Saturday night, I took the opportunity to catch up with a number of the Glasgow supporters and give them a voice and tune into their thoughts on the season so far and their aspirations and hopes for the remainder.
Hi, Jim Kelly, support the Tigers, still a newbie, only been coming for about 20 years, still a newbie, fresh-faced. Season's going great, Freseniers are still doing a fantastic job. Maybe not meeting the expectations I thought we would do, throwing silly points away, but I still think we'll be playoff final at very least. Some teams in Scotland would love to have that. We've got it. Anyway, FTM.
My name's Donald Forbes. I've been a Glasgow Tigers supporter since 1947. I actually managed to get a wee season at the White City, doing second halves on an old speedway bike, an old upright. It's been a long journey since then, and I've been solidly behind this team all that length of time. Immaterial where it's gone in the past or where we've had to move to, and we've had some epic journeys in this club and places that we've had to go to survive. But here we are, still successfully, a great Glasgow club.
Hi, my name's Fred Graham. Been following the Tigers for 48 years. I know that sounds a long time. This year I think the club should get the playoffs, and if we get the playoffs it's back to a knockout stage. It's anyone's game. The season's gone up and down, good then bad, good then bad, but I think we've really got a chance of picking up a couple of trophies. Hopes and expectations, really, I would be very disappointed if the Tigers don't get a trophy this season and put the boys from the East back in their club.
Hi, my name is Janice Watts. I've supported the Tigers since 1967, so that's quite a number of years. Season so far is going well. I would like it to be a wee bit closer in the points. However, I'm quite sure we'll be up there with the rest of them, and if we can just get ourselves together over the next few matches, and I'll be quite happy.
Hi there, my name's Mark. I've supported the Tigers I think since I was about 7 years old, and this season it's just the biggest improvement I've ever seen at the club. The changes to the team this year, like between when I started following the club and now, is just crazy changes, and I can only think that it's just going to get better and better by the way it's going now.
Hi, my name is Walter Shearer. I've been following Speedway from 1965 at White City. My thoughts for the season, it's went well. A couple of glitches in the last few matches, but hopefully everything goes good. It's a shame to see the boys falling and getting excluded, injured failures. They just want to get it right. They're determined to get it right. So hopefully we make the top four at the end of the season in the Keogh Cup. Try our best again, because it's such a family sport. the kids' races, everyone's good. Even the noise and the smell. And I can't say that. I was going to say the wife.
Okay, I'm Stewart Blackwood. I've supported the Tigers since I must have been about 5 or 6 years old, which was the 70s, on and off. Season so far I think has been fantastic. I think there's a bit of improvement coming at reserve. Jack Smith's getting a lot better the last few weeks. Top 3 have been fantastic. I think we've got the best team I've seen for years. And for the rest of the season, I think we'll definitely make the playoffs, and hopefully we can win the league and the cup, because we're capable of it.
It's Philip Duncan. I've supported the Tigers since 1977, so this is my 42nd year. So season so far, I think they've done all right so far. Struggling a wee bit over the last few meetings. Obviously need to get some of the guys back to form that they were in earlier in the season, just to try and. I know we'll make the playoffs, okay, but I don't think we're going to get the first place now.
Hi, my name's Derek, and I've been a Tigers fan for about 7 or 8 years. And season so far we're doing okay. We're hanging on in there. It's been a wee bit ropey the last maybe week or two, but everybody has ups and downs. Hopefully at the end of the season we're in the playoffs, if not right high up, where we can choose who we're going against.
There we are, Brian. A real rogues gallery of some well-kent faces around the Ashfield scene, and some interesting and open opinions from the supporters featured.
Yeah, well, thank you, Derek, first of all, for upping the viewer count by about 10 this week as people tune in to see themselves on camera. That's very kind of you. Yeah, some interesting views there, I think. Fairly consistent views as well. A lot of people happy with the way the season's gone. Good to see the progression of some of the young riders. But just maybe looking for that little bit extra now as we get to the crunch part of the season, and I think everyone would be in the same kind of boat. We know what, as I said earlier, we know what potential this team's got, and everyone's just looking for it to sort of realise that now. So I'm sure Stewart will have some interesting views on it as well, and we can put them to him now after we caught up with him a little bit earlier on all things 2017.
Okay, Brian and I are delighted now to be joined by Tigers team manager Stewart Dickson. Good evening to you, Stewart.
Good evening, guys. How are you doing?
Very well, Stewart. Thanks for joining us once again on TIGERBITE, and nice to see you for the first time on TIGERBITE.
Well, I'm finally managed how to work out this phone, so Stephen Finlay for talking me through it at baby steps for a 7-year-old. I've managed to finally get on the phone.
Well done, Mr. Dickson. Stewart, just a few minutes ago on TIGERBITE, you will have heard, as we did, some of the views from just some of our supporters who were sharing their views on the season so far and some of their hopes and aspirations for the run-in over the next couple of months. And if I was to tease out maybe the sort of key sentiment there, it was so far so good, but we need to kick on over the next few weeks. Maybe they're detecting a slight slump in fortunes and performance in recent weeks. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think so. I think nobody's hiding from the fact that August has so far been a disappointing month. Obviously, because the high standards that we've set earlier on in the season. We started the season very well. I think the heat leaders were all averaging above 9 at some point. The second strings have been fairly solid, I think. Even up to now, I know Dan had a bit of a disappointing meeting on Sunday at Newcastle, but it's fair to say that we were I wouldn't say punching above our weight when we were on form. I think we're basically doing what we're capable of, and we fell a wee bit behind the standards that we set. We need to try and get that back. I'm hoping that a run of home meetings that we're going to get early in September, when I think we'll get 4 or 5 home meetings in a short space of time. It's like any other sport, when winning races, it brings confidence back to the riders, and hopefully winning meetings at home, winning races individually, and hopefully that'll do the trick and get the confidence back again. Because, as I say, it's like any other sport. We need to get the confidence back up, and hopefully that'll trigger us into some decent form away from home, because that's obviously where we've been lacking in recent times.
Stuart, we speak to you just a few days after the away matches at Redcar and Newcastle. We took a point from those two meetings combined. Now you've had a few days to ponder those results. What's your feelings about how those two meetings went?
Well, I think it's fell short of the standards what we expected, Brian. That's for sure. I mean, the Redcar meeting, we were 8 points up and pretty much cruising, to be honest. And with a bit of misfortune in Heat 8, Knight Luna picked up a bit of drive and he fell. And all of a sudden, a 3 each becomes a 5-0 to them. And then in Heat 9, I think I mentioned it before, I don't need to go over it again, just the lack of team riding. All of a sudden, we could have been maybe 10 or 12 points up in the meeting, and all of a sudden there's 3 points in it. And to be honest, I think, their heads would have went down if we'd have went 10 or 12 up. They might have used a black and white, but but what you do is you let them back in it and it galvanised them, and you seen their team manager getting into them, and all of a sudden they got a lift. And I spoke to the riders about that Sunday before the meeting at Newcastle. When we get teams down, we've got to keep them down because we'll have an easier second half of the night. And I know that none of the riders obviously are doing anything deliberate or on purpose and like that, but we need to start killing teams off when we get the chance. We need to be a bit more ruthless, basically. On Sunday at Newcastle, I think the inclusion of Stewart Robson for Lewis Rose has certainly made them stronger, and I think that was evident on the track. They were getting a lot sharper than us with Robson, Lambert and Worrell, very sharp at the traps. And our boys, Richie Worrell apart was really the only one that was trapping along with them, so pretty disappointing. And you look at our scorers, Aaron Summers and Dan Bewley failed to beat any of their top 5 all night, and it was pretty disappointment. I know, they were pretty down about their performances, so I think it's been pretty well documented. You really just want the next match to come about as quickly as possible, and Saturday night presents us with the opportunity to turn the tables back on Newcastle. And what we keep hearing is, every time we've obviously won at these tracks, Redcar and Newcastle before, and they're basically waiting for the chance to turn the table on us, like revenge almost, because we bet them earlier on the season. And I think the riders need to realise that we're still classed as a big scalp, even though we're going through a disappointing wee run of form at the moment. But Glasgow's a big club in every shape or form now because of what's happened over the last 2 or 3 seasons. And we are a big scalp, and we're going to have to start rising to the occasion. Things are getting a bit tougher now. We're coming very, very close to the business end of the season, and we're going to have to get a form back. And we're going to have to start mucking in and really putting it together as a team. And I mean all 8 of us. It's not just me and 7 riders. When things go bad, we're all in it together. But as I say, we win and lose as a team. You know what I mean? And hopefully this Saturday night, as I say, we can get a victory before we go down to Sheffield next Thursday, because that's a daunting task in itself. But as I say, we lost down there early in the season, but they're flying at the moment. But we're too good a team not to come back, that's for sure. But we just need to get that spark again.
Stuart, we'll touch on Saturday's visit by Newcastle in just a minute or two. I think there's a couple of lineup changes which we'll ask you to run through with us. Something you touched on there and acknowledged, I think, which is maybe the most alarming aspect of all in recent weeks. At Workington a couple of weekends ago, at Redcar last Thursday, Tigers capitulated whilst having a healthy lead, 8 points up on Redcar, and I think we were 10 or so up against Workington at one point. And maybe that was the most worrying aspect. And you've touched on the having to redevelop the killer instinct, etc. However, this week in the press, Richie Worrell has mentioned quite rightly, there's no trophies are handed out in August. So are some supporters getting overly twitchy unnecessarily, would you think?
It's maybe not unnecessarily. I think the supporters are the same as ourselves. We are supporters. I mean, yourself, Stephen, Brian, we're all supporters, and I think we're just very keen for the club to do well, and we don't want to fail because we started off very, very well, and I think we're all a bit worried that, and maybe scared that, that we're not going to get the form back. So there is a bit of twitchiness creeping in, and as Richie Ward, we spoke about that before the match at Newcastle, and we know that, I think it's fair to say that Sheffield are going through a very purple patch at the moment, and Ipswich probably to a slightly lesser degree are as well, whereas we're slightly just off the ball at the moment. But we did speak about it, and hopefully we can run into some sort of forum now that we're getting close to September, because I think September is the key month, and maybe just touching into October, and we're looking to get that sort of form back. But I think supporters will get right to be a wee bit nervous and a wee bit twitchy, and you certainly can't criticise them for it, because they spend a lot of money going on away trips and paying their money for home meetings, and we want to try and give them as much to cheer about as possible. So I'm every bit as apprehensive and twitchy and nervous as them, because the riders want to do well as well, and there's nobody that wants to win trophies more than I do as well. But we want to get back on track just as much as quickly as possible, and as I say, try and get the 3 points on Saturday night, because it's amazing what a couple of wins can do for your confidence, and then you just take off again. And I know we certainly still have the team that can do that.
Sure, Derek just touched on it there. Richie Worrell's comments in the wake of the defeat in Newcastle, he wasn't too downbeat, but he did mention that he was looking for the guys to maybe get together and work on some things behind the scenes. In particular, he was touching on, you know, what's going on in the workshop and making sure that we're preparing right for matches. Is that something you have discussed as a team at all? Is there anything that, you know, we do need to maybe work on behind the scenes in that respect?
Well, yeah, it was just a wee idea that I had. I spoke to him. I said to him that I didn't want to keep maybe over the top until I was blue in the face. And I think there's a time when I know when to kind of rule with the iron fist and when not to. And I don't think at the moment it would do any good, because there's one or two heads that are down. So I'm maybe just looking at a different sort of tactic to sort of galvanise the boys and get them back up again. And I just thought maybe a wee sort of social day, maybe go-karting or something like that, and just a wee sort of gelling with the riders. But when I look at the fixtures, you see, obviously, Dan Bewley has got fixtures in the National League and the Premiership, Jack Smith, Richard Lawson as well. It's easier said than done to try and get all the riders together at the one time. But I just had an idea that maybe, obviously, that the three senior riders could maybe take one rider, certainly the younger riders, maybe under their wing each, and sort of look at their setups and maybe just work closer beside them if they got a bit of time, maybe a closed door practice session, just to maybe look at their setups and to see if we can get them going again. I know Richie Worrell done it with Tom Perry earlier on in the season, and Aaron Summers had worked on Night Luna's bike, and it's maybe something we can do just to see if we can find a wee extra 5-10%, because it maybe just get us going again. So that was maybe the thinking behind that, and I just discussed it with Richie Worrell on Sunday night, because it's maybe not something you can speak to Richard or Aaron at the time when they weren't having the best of nights. It's maybe just about timing and speaking to the rider who's on for them, because you get maybe more of their feedback. So looking to maybe do something like that hopefully the next couple of weeks and get the guys together and just get a wee bonding session, because it's amazing what it can do for the team morale. And as I say, coupled with hopefully a couple of home wins coming up and some home matches coming up, but hopefully will lead to home wins, maybe just give us a springboard to get us challenging again to the likes of the Sheffields and the Ipswiches of this world.
Stewart, like yourself, I think I'm a glass half full type of bloke. And when you look at those results that have concerned us most, 38, 39 points away from home and the associated performances in those meetings, it occurs to me that we're actually only a handful, literally, of points away from getting a result at those tracks. Surely that's far from a precarious position to be in. Surely the lads collectively can recover that little missing bit of form to recover a few points here or there that would make all the difference.
I think you're right what you're saying. Obviously, I do analyse things, and I am a glass half full man. I always look at the way we can come back at it. And I know Aaron, I think, only scored 4 points, and I think Dan only scored 3 or something like that. I say to myself, that's 7 points between two very good riders. Now, even if they were to score even half a dozen between them, all of a sudden you're up to 42, 43. And Jack Smith failed to score at all. And Richard Lawson scored 8. So I know that just 2 or 3 points here or there for certain riders, and I don't like naming riders individually, but the guys know that they didn't have the best of nights, because you ain't going to go back there and Aaron's going to score 4 points again. I can assure you that ain't going to happen. So you rightly say it's something that we can sort out, hopefully. It's not insurmountable. We can sort it out. If it was across the board, you would say to yourself, ain't going to be fixed. But I'm still very hopeful. We're obviously going to go back to Tyneside in the Knockout Cup, and I did look at the programme, and you do look at it and say where can, and it's no too difficult. Hopefully we can sort things out and get ourselves some more points the next time we go down there, which, as I say, will be in the Knockout Cup. So we can fix it, but I'm not going to kid on that we are lacking a wee bit of confidence here or there, but we need to get that back. But again, that can be done.
Some of the supporters touched on just in the video a wee while ago, there have been a lot of positives this season, and we still have a large chunk of the season to go, so things could certainly swing back the other way again. What's the thing that's pleased you most so far this season about the team, Stuart?
Well, it's quite easily forgettable that the progress that's been made. Obviously, Dan Bewley's put a couple of points on his average. Knight Luna had put a point on, and we had the three heat. I think at the start it was quite a gamble the way it was put together with the three heat leaders, and a lot of people were saying that the balance wasn't right. And then when we were winning meetings for fun, it was never mentioned that the balance of the team, there was one or two folk not too sure, and then when you get a few bad results and maybe one or two will come out and say, the balance was never right in that, but that's only maybe you get one or two doom and gloom merchants, when they maybe look to pick faults in the team, which is, I respect everybody's opinion, and they'll maybe say, the team was never set up right for that. And what I would say is, in fairness, when you build a big top three, you do need the three top scorers to be scoring regularly. So in that respect, there is pressure on the three guys at the top to score in every meeting, but they're expected to do it because they have been doing it for a couple of seasons now. So the pleasing fact, as I say, is that the younger guys have scored well. Jack Smith was I knew he was going to take time, and then around about end of June, beginning of July, he started to score. He was scoring 3 and 4 points a meeting, and that can be a big swing. That can be 6-8 point swing in a meeting, which I just touched on there for points. And I'm hoping that crash that he had a couple of weeks ago back at Ashfield's not put him back to what he was pre-May, June sort of thing, because he's failed to score in the last couple of meetings. And as I say, if he's scoring 2 or 3, that 4-6 point swing can make all the difference, especially when it's going to come to over 2 legs in weeks to come. And we need to try and get Jack's confidence, and hopefully a couple of home meetings, as I say, in late August, September coming up, we can get him winning Heat 2 again, because we need to get his confidence up again, because he's got a very important part to play, as everybody else has. Tom Perry scored paid 8 at Newcastle on Sunday night, and I still feel that every one of them's got a very important part to play. But I wouldn't say there's any particular important aspect that I'm really pleased with. The bottom line is, for me, what's happened early on in the season has happened, and it's the same with Newcastle, Redcar, Workington. It's happened. It's really what happens from now on in, Brian, for me, which is important. The guys have got to show a bit of character. Obviously, I've got to show it as well. We're all sticking together, and we're very, very determined to not to prove everybody wrong, but just to come out of this wee slump that we're in and show everybody what we're made of. You know what I mean? And show the team, everybody in the league, how good we are.
Stuart, the sorting out, as you've described it, starts on Saturday night with the visit from Newcastle, and you bring news of a couple of rider changes in both camps for Saturday. Yeah,
well, this weekend on Saturday night it's the European Under-21. I think it's the final leg, and Dan Bewley is representing Great Britain, and so is Robert Lambert. So both teams have got guests, unfortunately. So I know that Newcastle have booked Ben Barker for Robert Lambert. We are giving a guest booking to Josh Pickering, who will ride at number 2. Josh Pickering will come out number 2 because Richie Worrell moves to number 1 this weekend, with Richard Lawson moving to 3. So I've kept the Richard Lawson Knight Luna partnership. So Knight Luna will go to number 4, and as I say, Josh Pickering will come in and race at number 2, partner Richie Worrell. So a couple of wee changes in the programme. I say it shouldn't affect the entertainment levels. Ben Barker, as he was flying at Redcar, unfortunately, last week against us, and he was pretty good in his last visit, I think, as well. So we wish the 2 boys representing Great Britain all the best. But I think on Josh Pickering's last show at Ashfield, he was pretty decent. and hopefully he should cover Dan Bewley's rides. And as I say, Ben Barker, we tend to know what we're going to get for him when he comes up to race at Glasgow.
And Stuart, just finally for now, looking at the Newcastle fixture, and certainly further ahead than that as well, we do have quite a packed schedule into September. What kind of impact will a run of home meetings have on the team now? Is that partly, could that be partly to blame for our slight slump away from home, that we've not had that consistent run at home, and could that just help build the confidence a little bit?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't know if it's partly to blame or no, because I'm no out there riding the bike, but I know when the guys are winning races, I think their confidence will be high. I think it's like any sport, so I know I've said that before a couple of times, but I'm hoping that if they're winning 2 or 3 races per meeting at home, there'll just be a natural feeling just to go in a away track and hopefully just win races there as well. I know that when James Greaves used to work for me, and he said that when you're winning races, you just naturally turn up at away tracks and you tend just to win races without thinking too much. And I think that's the key, that just not to over think about it. You're just turning up, going on the bike, going up to tapes, and you're just naturally going to tapes expecting to win races because you're used to win them at home. And I'm hoping that's the springboard that'll take us into September and into October, and hopefully we can bounce back, because as I say, there's still a lot of speedway to go, and it can change very, very quickly. We know we're not the form team at the moment, but it's not the moment that counts. It's when you get to the knockout stages of the playoffs that counts, and hopefully we'll have turned the corner by then. That's the plan of attack anyway.
Stuart, last duty tonight. Could you just announce this week's name check winner, please?
Name check winner for this week is George Barclay, guys.
George Barclay. Thank you very much, Stuart. Rest up for the rest of the week. See you at Ashfield on Saturday night.
Thanks for having me on. Cheers, guys. Good night.
Here we are, Brian. Stuart, as ever, he never shucks away from a tough question. And, he mentions himself, he acknowledges he is a supporter at the end of the day, as all of us watching this programme are. And we only want the best for our club and our team. But it seems that, Stuart and the riders are highly conscious, I guess, of some recent imperfections in performances, and I'm quite sure collectively they'll do everything in their power to arrest that.
Absolutely, and I know that one of the things that a couple of the riders have mentioned before as well, Stuart didn't really touch on it there, but I know it has been brought up, is they're looking for the fans to stick by them as well. I don't think there's any suggestion that anyone's abandoning the team at this stage. We've still got a lot to play for, and everything's still up in the air. We could come away winning almost everything there is to win this season. So it's still very much to play for. But I think the riders are looking for the fans to stick by them and just give them a bit of a chance now to go out and prove themselves again over the next few weeks. And I think that's important too, that we stand by them, we back them to the hilt, and as I say, give them a chance to kind of prove what they're worth, and that they are genuine title contenders, which I personally believe I think they will do over the next few weeks. I think we will see the real Glasgow Tigers coming back again. I don't think that run of without any home matches has helped us in the slightest, and I think when things are starting to get tough and we've got big matches coming up, I think that's when our guys will come into the fore a little bit, and hopefully now that Jack Smith is starting to recover from his crash, a couple of other guys have had busy schedules, but hopefully now we get into a bit of a rhythm over the next few weeks, and we can see things picking up.
And that rhythm, Brian, begins this Saturday night with the visit to Ashfield of Newcastle, who on paper have all the hallmarks of a side highly capable of troubling the Tigers on Saturday. However, the Diamonds have only picked up away points in one meeting this season. They're obviously not travelling well this year.
Yeah, it's quite a remarkable figure, actually. I do think that the addition of Stewart Robson, it's no disrespect to Lewis Rose on their side, but Stewart Robson, we know what he's capable of, and he's essentially riding as a second string in the Newcastle team. I think that's certainly strengthened them up, giving them a bit of experience away from home. Things are probably coming a little bit too late for them now, unfortunately, in terms of their challenge for the playoffs. I think that they probably are going to struggle to make it there. Which is a shame, because I do think on their day they are a really quality outfit, and it's a shame we won't see Robert Lambert on Saturday. Of course, he's got other commitments, as Stuart touched on, along with Dan Bewley. But Ben Barker, a more than capable and replacement, and let's just hope that he doesn't come back to bite us like he already has on a couple of occasions this season.
Absolutely. So I would suggest that in confidence terms, a home win by any margin on Saturday night is just what the doctor ordered for the Tigers. So Brian, I think we have covered off all of the whys and wherefores around Glasgow Speedway at the moment. Congratulations again to George Barclay. George, get well soon. We know you've had a little bit of an accident this week. We hope you're already well on the mend. So I think, Brian, all that's left to do is to invite people to join us at Ashfield this Saturday night. Tapes up at 7 p.m. Glasgow Tigers versus Newcastle Diamonds, chasing vital league points it is now at this stage of the season in that playoff push.
Yep, it's a very important match for Glasgow, and the battles with Newcastle are always entertaining. We've seen that in the last couple of years. So get yourself along. Another Speedway fix again. It's good to have one, and get prepared for a busy few weeks.
It's going to be a busy few weeks, Brian. There's lots of home fixtures coming at us over the next few weeks. Some, of course, are midweek as well, as the Tigers aim to make sure they are at the top of the pile come the 17th of September, which is a cut-off date to determine the championship playoffs. So turn up to Ashfield on Saturday night, get right behind the lads, bring some friends as well. Look forward to your company there. Good night.
Good night.